I like the way we began. If we think about common goals rather than stressing common differences and then turning those into identities, if we can look for new ways of interacting that are organized not by ethnicity, but like solving certain problems, I think that would be the best direction because it seems like humanity faces many of the same challenges wherever we live.
My next question is about this a little weird age of information. On one hand, it seems we have more information than we need, but then on the other hand, each one of us are living consciously or unconsciously in the information bubble. We tend to be grouped with the people that we think, who think like us or act like us. So the bias or prejudice is further strengthened or reinforced instead of diffused. How can we change that, Amy?
Well, this is, I think, one of the biggest problems now. All of the groups, just as you say, Yang Lang, they go into smaller and smaller echo chambers, their own bubbles, and it used to be at least 20 people. Now you could have with social media, you can find your people, like only 3 of you. So it's very fractured. The key is how do you counter human nature? Because there's this natural tendency, especially if you read something that seems unfair, that the other side, they're being unfair to us, then you get mad and you want to attack back. So we have to break that cycle.
Yes, there are 2 problems here. One is the bubble, which you describe. I think the other, which is related, which is the idea of alternative facts. Well, things that are obviously facts, issues of science around climate change or COVID, people are debating them as if they are just theories. So we have ridiculous arguments between whether there is climate change or no climate change, whether the world is round or whether the world is flat. This is a ridiculous situation. And I think we need more face-to-face contact between people from different countries. And maybe we need to wait to the end of the COVID restrictions before we have people moving now more freely and engaging directly so we can escape from these bubbles and alternative facts.
其实今天我们看到的身份的重新塑造，这个和世界都很相似的。整个在全球化刺激之下，宗教的复兴、民族主义的复兴，其实它是一个共享的过程。那今天我们如何要能找到一种方式来超越这个东西？我觉得很重要的还是要大家彼此倾听，不是仅仅的把对方想象成一个固定不变的，或者是某一种单向度的一个共同体。其实我们在这个之上有一个更大的共同体，就是整个人类社会面临的今天的挑战是高度相似的。
我接下来想请各位嘉宾都给我们举一些成功的案例哈，无论是发生在中国的还是世界上的任何一个地方啊，你们觉得在这种共同身份的塑造上是非常成功的，也许我们可以互相启发。
美国在民权运动之后呢，废除了学校的种族隔离制度，实际上就让有才能的黑人学生可以进入好的中学。另外呢，以这政策优惠呢，进入像哈佛这样的名校，给他们进入上层社会，能够为自己本族群去发言，争取利益的话呢，是一个象征。我觉得这个呢，实际上这是非常重要的。
Interestingly, there are a lot of positive psychological studies that show that if you can just get people to interact as individuals first, before they know about their political divisions, it's amazing how successful that can be. And I have a positive example actually from my own class right now. I have 80 students and it's extremely diverse. I have a lot of students from China. I also have 11 African American students. I have 7 Muslim American students. I have Trump supporters. I have mostly progressives. And somehow I set the rules. I think leadership is important. I said, look, we are going to have a conversation. And if somebody says something that bothers you, your reaction won't be just to be angry. You have to express what it is that bothered you, and then we will go back and forth and have a conversation. And I was so surprised. It's extremely successful. In such a different and diverse class, it's been a fun experience, and we've been able to talk about lots of complicated issues. So I think setting the ground rules is very important, and then almost like creating the channels for listening and communication.
I would cite the example of London, which was 40 years ago, was a terribly declining city, losing population, industry, manufacturing industry was going, there was growing poverty, there was very poor levels of education in schools. And this has, in many ways, turned around. I mean, this is now a global city, emphasis on creative industries and services, very diverse. 50% of the population is now ethnic minorities. We have a Muslim mayor. There is a lot of dynamism. Education has been emphasized, and the school system is significantly better. So even when you have a declining city, you can turn it round with a combination of good social policy, emphasis on education, also on transport connectivity. These are the things that really make a difference.
薛教授有什么好的经验可以分享？
实际上我看到的就是在苏式民书院，这个有很多国际学生，他们到这个苏式民书院来学习1年以后呢，已经打破了原来的这种我们想象的界限。他学完以后，他可能还回到他自己国家，他看到中国的发展机会，愿意在中国新兴的这个行业发展。而且更好的话，不同国家同学们之间互相一起来商讨，有些什么样的新的好的发展机会，可能我们一起合作，一起到非洲去发展，到美国去发展，到其他地方去发展。所以这个可能是今后我们特别希望能看到各个国家的年轻人能够在一起学习、一起成长、一起去创业、一起去解决我们人类面临的问题。
那么我最后想问大家的是，有一些什么样的情况我们是应该警惕的？我们不应该做一些什么事情，来让这种身份政治恶化？
我们首先不能强调单一向度的身份，我们每个人都是多向度的身份，都是跨界的，就是我们不能让任何一个单一的身份变得至上，掩盖其他的身份，这样我们才是一个真正的现代人。
我觉得，在一个现代的法治的国家，不管你出生于哪个族群，你最重要的身份是你的公民身份。而在国家大的法律制度之下，每一个公民的权利应当是相等的。
我想，可能我们要更加清晰地分清楚，我们跟 identity 相关的政策背后的依据是什么？到底是促进融合，还是可能说不定会
或者加剧了隔阂啊？
I actually agree with the previous speakers. How many common problems we all mentioned. I like the way we began. If we think about common goals rather than stressing common differences and then turning those into identities, if we can look for new ways of interacting that are organized not by ethnicity, but like solving certain problems, I think that would be the best direction because it seems like humanity faces many of the same challenges wherever we live.
I would say two things. I think, first of all, you need very strong legal underpinnings so that if there is actual discrimination, it is illegal and people have rights to the courts. It may be that actually you're trying to change human behavior. The second point is the importance of leadership in showing solidarity when you do have bad episodes.
各位提的这个建议都非常有意思啊，这让我想到，在1954年的时候，社会学家们曾经在美国的俄克拉荷马州一个叫做 Robbers Cave 的地方啊，举办了个夏令营。他们把一群11、12岁的男孩分为2组，一开始呢让他们相互竞争啊，比如通过一些体育运动或完成一些工作来看哪一组表现得更好。很快他们就发现2组男孩之间产生了隔阂，甚至有一些冲突和争论。随后呢，他们又人为的制造了一个当地的水源短缺， 结果呢，又发现这2组男孩很快就携起手来，共同面对危机。这说明了什么呢？这说明我们人类既有冲突的动机，也有合作的潜能。关键要看这游戏规则是如何制定的。好，那接下来我们通过一组街头的访问，来看看世界各地的年轻人对待差异性或者不同的意见有一些什么样的想法和解决之道。
保持沉默。
我第一选择应该是去劝他，让他同意我的这种观点和方式。
我直接写首歌 diss 他。
我会选择第三方人来解决这件事情。
I definitely just prefer to avoid conflict whenever I can, just try to compromise whenever I can.
I really enjoy arguing with my friends on about intellectual topics.
It's an important conversation to have.
Say it's better to be exposed to people who have opposite values from you.
But you should also be able to be vulnerable and tell the people what you think.
Not only learn about other people's experiences, but acknowledge them as valid and make sure we are all heard.
That everybody has a story.
我是非常乐意去告诉他们我们是怎么样的。
我觉得每个人这个差异就是他的特点所在。我了解他们的差异，就相当于可以了解到他们的文化。
差异其实是更多带来一种像是其他色彩的东西。它可能我是这个颜色，那其他人可能代表着另一种颜色，那么加起来可能才是这个世界真正原本的样子。
It's important to see the world.
Doesn't matter where you are in the world or what religion you practice or what language you speak.
观点不同也是无关紧要的。
I think it's important to let everyone know that we're all on the same side.
As long as we come from a place of love, that's all that matters.
看到他们的这样非常丰富和生动的语言哈，大家有些什么感想？
我觉得这可能就是我们未来的世界的希望。
这费孝通先生也很著名的提出过各美其美，美美与共啊。
就是我们每一个人要尊重自己的祖先的文化，还要善于从对方身上吸取他所有的而自己缺乏美德和才能，这样一种良性的互动，就能造成一个真正的一个和谐的社会。
其实我们可以看到，在世界各地的这些年轻人，他们其实都是在倡导文化宽容。其实这个已经成为了一个世界的新的共识。我想在这样的话，它会带来一个美好明天的一个社会的基础。
I like the optimism, the outward-looking comments of those young people, not turning aside from people of different color, different nationality. And I think one of the good things about the discussion is that we've all finished up in the same place.
Yes, I think it's a great reminder that I think there's a big silent majority that actually wants harmony, that wants unity. When we read in the news or newspaper or social media, it's actually a minority of the angriest voices. And I think it's a nice reminder that if you just go out into the real world, as Sir Cable just said, we all kind of want the same thing.
Thank you very much. We do have reasons for hope. 身份可以用于分裂，也可以用于整合。其实我们难免会受到偏见的影响，但是意识到偏见的存在，就是我们认知的向前一步。我们每个人都不是某一个标签的囚徒，我们的身份也并非一成不变。拥抱多元和融合，并且不断地创造自我是有可能的。在多的背后还有一个一。毕竟作为人类，我们有着某种共同的命运，也拥有共同的家园。